Thanks everyone for joining in for the panel. To briefly introduce myself, I am Ayush. I'm part of an investment team at a venture capital hashed Emergent. It's a venture capital based out of Bangalore. We invest in Web3 projects in emerging markets. To start off this panel will be about cross-platform gaming, bridging the gap between traditional and blockchain games. To start off, we have an interesting set of panelists to talk about this topic. I will briefly like them to introduce themselves.
Hello. Hey guys, how's it going? I guess everybody's coming in after lunch. I hope everybody's nice and full. I'm Anthony. I'm the growth lead at Gunzilla Games. And at Gunzilla Games, we are building Off the Grid, which is the first game that employs blockchain and Web3 mechanics to list on both the PlayStation and Xbox stores. So we're very excited about that. Happy to dig in on our core philosophies and how we're approaching bridging the gap between Web 2 and Web 3 today. Cheers.
Hi, my name is Dan. I work as a chief BD officer for 3 Merged. We started out as a game studio called Nod Games. We developed a game called League of Kingdoms. While we're expanding that IP in our own efforts, we've also recently expanded our business to start publishing games, Web 2 games, into Web 3. So our focus is, working with a lot of the larger game studios, Web 2 game studios in South Korea.
Hey guys, my name is Ben. I pioneered online games over 15 years ago in emerging markets like the Philippines, India, Brazil, Colombia. I sold that business to Tencent in 2014, and now I'm back into games with Iskra. We are a Korean-based project that's backed by some of the biggest tech and video game companies there. We're a Web3 game platform where we not only publish games, but we offer other blockchain services like a wallet, a DEX, a launchpad, a marketplace. And basically, both players and developers, as long as you contribute and you participate on the platform, you get rewarded, right? Using our proprietary community activity tracking system and community tier system. That's it.
Hi, my name is Frank. I'm the co-founder and Lorekeeper of Apeiron. So pretty much the original creator of Apeiron. It's a very unique and competitive game built on Ronin Chain. Our booth is out there with all the yellow plushies. Come give our game a try and try to win a plushie. And I'll keep it short.
Thank you, everyone. So to kick start of this panel, the first thing which I want to touch upon is we have seen that many games are trying to reach mass adoption, and one thing which is very clear is there are 2 different sets of communities which everybody wants to touch upon, the Web 2 one and the Web 3 one. But there's very thin line and how to bridge that line, and what are the initiatives you guys are taking to do that?
It's a good question. I think for us, the primary goal is to make it easy to use Web3 mechanics and leverage the benefits of Web3. So our philosophy is let's do everything that we can to remove all the friction and make it feel like for Web 2 users, they're playing just another Web 2 game. So for us, what we've done is we've built our own toolkit. We have our own proprietary wallet. We have an in-game marketplace for our NFTs. And we basically have our users, when they make an account on PlayStation or Xbox, they'll have a wallet already built in, and everything will be smooth and as if they're not doing anything different than they would normally do in another game. So I think for us, just removing friction is probably the biggest step, because I think a lot of Web 2 gamers, when they think about Web 3, they think about building a wallet and then having to bridge assets and then doing this and this and that just to get into the game. And obviously, people just want to jump in and play. So that's been our focus when it comes to making it easy for Web 2 users to embrace Web 3.
For us, we have a slightly different approach because, we think that it is very important to make it frictionless, but friction is bound to exist at some level because, you know, at the end of the day, no matter how seamless you make it to create a wallet, at the end of the day, they have to come in like create a wallet. So for us, with League of Kingdoms, we've done it a little bit different in a way that we create like a demand for these Web2 gamers to go and create a Web3 wallet, to start buying these NFTs, start using these NFTs in game. So how we did that was, we gave, let's say for like in-app purchases, we give them like discounts for, making these in-app purchases through our native token. We also sold like these packages. We changed them into NFTs, and then we sold them at a marketplace, which was a lot cheaper than what you could get from an in-app purchase. And what we've witnessed was that the traditional like Web2 gamers who had no wallets, who had no interest in Web3 before, they would go into these communities, and then these community members will actually teach them how to create a wallet, like which marketplaces that you have to go to make the cheapest purchases. And I think that was for us a natural way to onboard a lot of these Web2 gamers onto Web3.
We were having a great discussion in the back there earlier, me and the other speakers. I think that it's pretty obvious that if we want this industry to grow, we need Web2 users, right? And so I think it's amazing what everybody's trying to do to kind of onboard everybody. But for Iskra, in the present moment, right, after doing this for the last 2 years, we're shifting our strategy a little bit and focusing on what we feel is, at least for us, the current motivation, which is the earning part, right, of Web3. So, for us now, we kind of have this new philosophy, which is it's fun to earn, right? That's the fun part, and that's why people come in. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what we can do this year. You can check out our booth out there. We have Juicy Adventure. It's one of the games that are taking this new philosophy where we provide different ways or different chances for someone to earn. It's not all based on chance, right? You can still build up your character and be ranked in the top 10 and earn. You can just gather fruits, put it in the blender, and like you can win a match that way and you can earn. So again, but a lot of it is, that's the fun part, is the earning part. So let's see what happens, right? I think all of us are doing experiments, and that's going to be ours for this year.
In terms of mainstream adoption, we'll explore the Battle Pass, which is where typical Web2 spending, where you spend around $5 to buy a Battle Pass. Every day you play, you get some more extra in-game items, but sort of like a delayed funnel. As you approach the week or the second week, you start to get a free mint item, which is game, an in-game item, but usable on the marketplace tab online to help encourage them to try own NFTs, and from there maybe explore tokens. But I think right now, leading to the it's mostly about being able to navigate the regulations and to navigate the regional regulations so that we can get on the main platforms, because that's still where mainstream acquisition will be. Google Play, iOS, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam. But yeah, I'll talk about it later.
Great. One thing which is very clear, to get these Web2 users, you have to make the games reachable and to expand to various platforms. In your point of view, what are the major hurdles which these companies are facing when expanding their games to Web2 platforms especially, and where are we heading in terms of that? You want to start, Frank?
Sure. Well, no technical guy in my company, but I think out of all in terms of Web3 platform integrations, a lot of them are born from Web2 developers and tech. So they're very friendly towards any developer who have already developed on Web2. I think in terms of compatibility, the most important thing is actually to be compatible with regional regulations, because you still have to be listed on Google Play iOS for us being a mobile game is crucial and critical. But in order to do that, I think right now it's still trying to segregate the gameplay experience of both to the Web2 free-to-play players and purchases, the monetization that's entirely separate from the Web3 path would be the safer way to navigate until clear regulations somehow come out.
Ben?
So if we go back to what I mentioned earlier about our focus on, and I hate to sound like we're just focused on earning, right? But again, to me, that's the fun part of what we're offering. Because of that motivation, right, we're going to be focusing on casual and hyper casual games to onboard new users, right? We want to make it as simple as possible. And earlier we were talking about how it's really complicated with tokenomics. And if you have a complex game, it makes it even, the challenge is like 10 times harder, right? And so for us, we're focusing on that. Secondly, I mean, like Frank, you know, in my experience in emerging markets, mobile really is the platform for us to go. And again, for casual, hyper casual, you know, I really think, you know, that's going to be our focus, and it's a huge market, right? At least the way we see it. Yeah.
Yeah, for us, for League of Kingdoms, we had two like distribution methods. Like one was mobile, obviously, and the other was WebGL. So I think WebGL, it's a little bit freer than like the mobile launches, because if you want to register your app on Google Play or iOS like App Store, you have to go by the regulations like in each different country. And ironically, although like I'm from South Korea and like there's a huge amount of interest in South Korean game studios to create Web3 games, in Korea it's like still on a very gray area where it's technically not really legal, because there's no regulation for it. And South Korea takes a negative law system where if it's not mentioned by the law that it's allowed, everything's technically illegal. So because we're in that sort of environment, we had to, you know, navigate around these regulatory barriers by, let's say, for our Korean mobile app, we had to get rid of all the Web3 features and you know, do like a regional block. So I think for distribution purposes, we still have a long way to go before you know, this transparency and regulation kinds of like happens in the near future. But I think to kind of circumvent all of those like mobile restrictions, we are launching a WebGL. We launched a WebGL, and I think that's certainly a way that we're gonna pursue for a while until all these like regulatory uncertainties clear up. Got it.
So one thing you mentioned earlier was around user experience, that we have to create user experience which is very intuitive, and that's why in Gunzilla games we are going in a very abstracted way, which is behind the scene. And when it comes to Den, they are taking a very different approach, and he mentioned that there will be some friction. How do you explain the problem of user experience right now? Where are we heading in future? Do you think that most likely there will be no Web 2, Web 3? There will be only games, or we will just or we are going in a different direction?
Yeah, it's a good question. I agree. There should only be games in the future, because if your main selling proposition is that you're a Web3 game, then you know you're actually focused on the complete wrong thing, right? You should have a good game. You should have a fun game that can create passion, that can create fandom, and from that there is a whole economy that can be birthed out of it. So like I come from the hardcore CS 1.6 days, and back in those days, even at a pro level, you weren't making any money. There was no way to actually earn or make any money off of the game, but the players were so passionate that I was chatting with Frank about this. Even when the new version of the game came out, people still played the kind of like junky looking old version of that game because they were so passionate about it. But what that ended up producing later on down the line was a very robust and extensive skins market and loot box market in Counter-Strike Go and future iterations of the game. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story about and this really kind of roots our philosophy when it comes to this topic. So about 10 years ago, there was a study done on a kindergarten class, and they were tracking parents being late picking up their kids from school. So about 3 out of 30 parents were, on average, were late picking up their kid from school every day. And so what they decided to do was impose a fine to see if the lateness would decrease, right? So, everybody expected, the lateness would go away now that they imposed this fine, right? But in reality, the lateness actually went up. It doubled. It more than doubled, actually. And the reason for that, as they studied, was because now those parents were given an opportunity to exchange their time for money. And the focus was taken away from being a good parent, a responsible parent, and was completely focused on the financial element, which was a lot easier for them to grasp, and they could basically be late. The tricky part about this study was when they removed the fine, the lateness did not go back down. So they permanently rewired the brains of these parents where they lost that parental duty, and they still were increasingly late picking up their kids from school. So this is our view on what the play to earn era a few years ago did to Web3 gamers. Everybody was so focused on the earning element that they forgot that enjoying the game, having that passion, having that fandom is an extremely critical part of creating a robust economy around a game. So our belief is that we're going to build a good game first. Off the Grid has been in development for 5 years. We've imbued blockchain and Web3 design directly into the game, but we made sure that we built a game that would respect both casual gamers and hardcore competitive gamers, so that an esports team can be bred out of it, a skins economy can be bred out of it. But at its core, it's still about building a game that people will be passionate about and enjoying playing and being competitive in. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yep. Yeah, so I think the whole play to earn part was a very necessary stage for Web3, and I'd like to say that just like having an earn aspect does not make up for a good Web3 game, but it really did suggest us a good way to head towards in the future. So for us, we're taking a little tweak, and as we discussed behind the stage, I told them that we were trying to take an approach where we separate the earn part from the gameplay. And how we're trying to do is we've kind of benchmarked what YouTube and TikTok was doing. Everybody can become a creator. Everybody can participate in their ecosystem of becoming earners from their platform, but not everybody gets rewarded for any content that's been created. Only the top value-adding content creators who created millions of views, millions of followers, subscribers, those are the ones that are getting truly awarded for making the ecosystem robust. And that's, I think, where we took the idea. And for one of the games that we're publishing, we're actually almost completely detaching the tokenomics part from the gameplay, where we are trying to endorse a UGC supported game where we create the basics of gameplay with campaign modes, basically PvP modes, PvE modes. But for the later stage, similar to what Fortnite did, we're trying to endorse a lot of user-generated contents to come on board our game. And that's when we are trying to actively use our token. So we're trying to reward the top content creators who make an actual value creation part for the game, and attracts more users coming onto their platform. And if you look at a lot of the games that are very long lasting, you see that UGC is actually a very critical part of these games, longevity. So, but what we realized was that most of these UGCs are taken for granted. It's more of a voluntary work. You love the game so much, you become a fan. You want to create some extra content, additional contents to make the gameplay more interesting, to pull more users coming in to play your game. So we kind of took that idea and then realized that, hey, if we can endorse these content creators, value-adding content creators, to economically incentivize them to come and build on our platform, I think this could actually be one of the solutions for the play to earn part for Web3 game. And Fortnite is doing this, but they can do it because they own their own payment gateway service. For smaller game studios, it's almost impossible to create as big of a payment gateway, or if they wanted to partner with another payment gateway service, it would also cost them a lot of money to make almost like the incentivizing these content creators not worth it. So we're trying to find a proxy for these payment gateway services by distributing tokens for the top value adding content creators. This is still a very early stage of coming up with this idea and trying to see like how this actually works out in the real world. So I guess we're still on the experimental stage, but that's how we're trying to take on with a play to earn part in Web3.
Ben?
So I'm already like the oldest person on the panel, and like I don't want to sound like a fossil, keep like using the word earning, right? But we believe in trying something different, right? And we, for us anyway, and given our capabilities and the experience, I think it depends on what you define like as fun, right? And I think I don't want to draw the casino analogy, right? Because I guess it's very dangerous. But my point is if you know what you're getting into, right, you kind of know you can make it fun, right? And I'm not saying that, like I said earlier, everything is going to be based on chance, right? But I think that I really feel there's something there, at least with the community that we have and the people that we've been speaking to and working with, where there is fun in earning. And I don't think necessarily it's always a bad thing, right? If that's your motivation, as long as you're not in denial about it, right? And you're upfront about it. So I do think that, the casual, for us, our strategy is casual, hyper casual. And to your point about WebGL, definitely you have to do WebGL too, right? Yeah. And you can do that on the mobile too, but again, at least it's there on the platform. So yeah, I mean, like once again, I don't want to make this look like a clip from like 2020, right? But yeah, I think it could be fun to earn, right? And let's see what happens this year with us.
I think this is one of the best panels I've been in, and that's one of the best stories and references I heard, Anthony, in terms of play to earn. And the battle tested and the wealth of experience from Dan and Ben is incredible. I'm learning a lot in one panel. So I can only throw my 2 cents out there regarding Web3. I'm more of a skeptic. I'm not sure how long it will take for the real mass adoption to come, but I always believe Web3 will be here to stay, because in terms of hot money, liquidity, prototyping, funding, this is probably the best place to discover and prototype new projects, and this will always be there. In terms of mass adoption, though, I think, of course, the dream will be the merger of Web 2 and Web 3, but until then, I think Web 3 actually introduces a very unique way for old-timers, players, and other types of people to enjoy a gaming ecosystem. And I think that's one of the reasons why GameFi have so much investment, because it opens up the doorway to capital-rich but time-poor individuals and entities. And like all the VCs, I mean, a lot of them support games because they love games, but nobody has time to play games. But in a way, NFTs, passive earnings, owning a part of a property for rent or for use opens up this new segment, an entire new segment, or rediscovers a segment of users that is actually very supportive of games, is alone enough to help new games develop all the way.
Thanks for your insight. So you mentioned that Web3 is here to stay even after all the hurdles. But one thing which is new and which is innovative is a lot of gaming companies are trying to come up with newer economic models. And even though we always have traditional way to do business, so what makes this new economic model interesting, and how can we make this sustainable, especially with all types of token strategy, and what are the things which we can learn from Web 2 and can spin up in Web 3 in a different way?
Sure. I think the biggest challenge is just learning from play to earn that hyperinflationary mechanics don't work. So our focus has primarily been around building as many velocity sinks as possible to make sure that there is obviously still a way to earn and there is a way for people to make lots of money, engaging in our ecosystem, but not in a way that just completely deflates the token and eventually, people lose interest and move on to the next one, because that's not how you build a long-lasting game or gaming ecosystem and a long-lasting token. Some of the products that we built, we have this NFT validator asset that we've actually raised about $46 million to date. We basically have designed this product that connects passive users to active players. So how it works is to decentralize the process of opening loot boxes in our game. The validator and NFTs have a randomized chance of opening the loot box or decoding the hex for the user that pays a small fee to do so. So similar to, again, I'll reference Counter-Strike. Usually you buy keys and then you use those keys to open up loot boxes. In our game, you go into the game, you play, you retrieve hexes, and you extract hexes, and then you have to decode those hexes. And so that user that wants to decode the hex directly interfaces with the NFT holder, who passively earns based on the rarity of their assets. So that's just one way that we're doing it. I think there are so many different ways to create velocity sinks. I think that as much as people want to shy away from NFTs these days, it's really not about the fact that it's an NFT. It's really the asset itself or the use of it, right? So I think that NFTs or in-game assets are a great way to continue to create velocity sinks. You have to have players trading, buying, selling these types of assets in games in order to continue to capture that token and hopefully send that back to the treasury to do some cool things with it and maintain value in the token.
I don't know, man. That sounds like it's fun to earn, Anthony.
It is fun to earn.
That's why you guys are so successful, man.
I'm already sold on fun to earn. I'm completely sold.
You guys nailed it, man. That's the secret right there.
I mean, for me, I've already touched upon the tokenomics part, so I just want to talk about the industry in general. So I think a lot of people don't see this because it's most people are coming from the consumer side, but if you are coming from the supplier side, what Web3 really opens up is a potential for game studios to not entirely rely on venture capital money. And I think this was actually touched upon one of the panels earlier today, and it struck me because VCs already know that they're not the only source for funding for game studios, and they've actually endorsed game studios to actually go out and seek for funding, not just limited to the venture capital money, but it's becoming something like a crowdfunding money. But I think up till now, because of the lack of regulation, it has given a lot of moral hazard issues, caused a lot of moral hazard issues from the game studio side, because you're not really held accountable for the money that you've raised through crowdfunding. And I think for the industry to be a little more sustainable, game studios like Web3 game studios should start becoming more responsible to the money, the fund that they have raised to develop the game. So I think it's really a great opportunity for a lot of developers in general, not just Web3, for having an option to raise funds for their development in the non-traditional way. But there always needs to be some sort of regulation to hold them accountable, or hold them responsible for the money that they're using to develop the game, so that they just don't waste it all in partying and drinking. So I think in that sense, if we have more regulations, if we have more responsible developers, that could also become a sustainable way for this Web3 game industry to exist.
I want to hear about Frank's business model with the subscription and the battle pass.
I was almost going to say nothing further, Your Honor. That's really well said. But in terms of my business model, well, actually, I think it's best for us to really segregate Web2 and Web3 payment right now. Owning NFTs allows you to earn cryptos going over there. It's sort of like how we were discussing in the back, the legal structure of how we handle our companies. It's still better and safer to handle crypto separately. There would be a one-way or possible funnel in between, probably delayed, but still presenting a whole more full gamer experience from free-to-play to initial monetization is still necessary, especially to navigate the regulation environments, which is probably the biggest bottleneck that we are facing right now. I have 4 more minutes. Do you want to go?
Great. We are already there in terms of time, so I'll ask a last question. If there's any trend which you are looking at and which you find interesting, and any prediction you want to make going forward in 2024, maybe we can keep it very briefly. Yeah, in gaming. Yeah.
I guess this panel, obviously, I think, like for me, what I've noticed is just there's a lot more intelligence when it comes to and thoughtfulness when it comes to approaching building Web3 games in 2024. We're seeing really, really high quality games builders and thought leaders that are able to have these types of conversations that go outside of just like one simple concept of like earning or NFTs, and really starting to dig into, you know, the markets, the regulatory frameworks, the requirements to actually deliver something that can close the complete loop when it comes to delivering a successful game, a successful studio, approaching fundraising, approaching publishing in a new way. So really, I'm just very optimistic and very bullish on Web3 gaming, especially right now. It's very in trend amongst the hardcore Web3 community. So I think there's going to be a lot of really great games and really great companies coming out of this particular cycle.
I think my personal prediction, the focus is on the NFTs like transaction part. Instead of, I think like a year ago, everyone was talking about how, you know, users want to own the asset. And I think as a gamer, I was like, well, I don't really need to own my items. But I think the whole the next stage is actually being able to own the asset and trade with other players in the market. So I think the games that allow this like transaction to happen most like seamlessly and the easiest ways would be the winners of like the next market. That's my prediction.
So I completely agree with Anthony, right? I think a lot of the people I meet now are a lot more battle tested, right? And I think we're all being very deliberate about the things we're going to try, you know, in the next 12 months. So, you know, and I was saying earlier, I can't wait till one of us figures it out, so that not that somebody can copy it, but we can all keep refining it, right? And really make this thing a success, right?
I think you figured it out with fund to earn, to be honest.
Oh, and I'll still call it every time I get a chance. I really think Korea is going to figure out the model. So, you know, I have to say that. But yeah, once we do, man, I really think, you know, this thing really has the promise that we've been, you know, like trying to talk about and try to deliver for the last few years.
Frank?
I hope Apeiron will figure this out.
Great. So we are already there in terms of timing. So thank you everyone for joining in for this panel. Thank you panelists for joining in and for your insights. Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.